What's up, guys? I'm the MMA Casual, and today I'm going to be covering a lot of our updates in mixed martial arts and combat sports, especially in the UFC. It's May 24th right now, and we have new news about Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. We have a new fight announcement between MVP and Ian Garry. We're going to talk about Belal Muhammad and Leon Edwards, a little bit of Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades and the whole John Jones situation, Dustin Poirier and his potential to retire, Oberg stepping in for Roundtree, Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett, and last but not least, all of a sudden, Chael Sonnen taking on Anderson Silva. And you're going to hear it here first, guys. I just want to say I appreciate all the momentum I've built up on Instagram and TikTok. 50,000 followers there. I'm trying to grow the YouTube. So if you're new here, do me a favor. Be sure to comment all the stupidity you think I'm spitting out and everything I'm yapping. But also be sure to subscribe. I appreciate all the support. But let's get right to it. First off, like I said, Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor. What's exciting about this? Well, Conor McGregor's returning. And even though we know he's not the same fighter he once was, if you ask me, he's not the same fighter he was as a featherweight. We'll never get that Conor McGregor back with that, incredible title run he had. But we are getting the excitement of seeing him into the octagon. One of the best showmen there's ever been. A guy who's made the UFC what it is today. So he's stepping in with Michael Chandler, and that's going to headline UFC 303, which is coming up in a few weeks. But today there was an announcement that he's going to be heading to Dublin, Ireland with Michael Chandler, and they're going to have a press conference, which is exciting. There's a notorious press conference that happened in Dublin, and that's the one where he actually took Jose Aldo's belt and he held it over his head. Everyone was electric, and we could expect to see the same type of Irish fans going crazy for Conor McGregor. He says he's not going to talk as much smack as he usually does. He's not going to try to sell the fight in the ways that he has before. But in my opinion, I don't think Conor McGregor could help himself. I think he's going to be Conor McGregor, who he is as a showman. He's going to talk all the shit in the world. Michael Chandler's going to say something slick, and Conor McGregor's going to be as witty as possible. Try him. And he's going to try to get into his head, because that is what Conor McGregor does, and that's what he loves. He loves the attention. He likes being the showman. He likes being the entertainer. So there's a lot to come from that. Let me know what you think below. Next up, Michael Venom Page takes on Ian Garry, and that's big news because we were expecting Colby Covington to take on Ian Garry with everything he's talking about, and I'm making a video on that afterwards. But just to focus on these two fights, I've been looking at a lot of posts, and there's a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people think this fight might be a bust, and stylistically, I see that potential. I think MVP is extremely unorthodox. He has a style that you almost can't prepare for. And then Ian Garry's that very kick-heavy guy, pretty technical, but he's long, lanky, pretty powerful. He's a very good fighter. I think Ian Garry doesn't get enough credit just because he's so unlikable. But I think it's a decent fight, but I have to agree. I think these guys, if they respect each other too much, stylistically, there's potential for this not to work. On the other hand, I think somebody could get laid out bad, but we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm a little disappointed it's not Colby Covington, but at this point, if you follow me, you know I'm kind of over Colby Covington. I think he's a laughing stock at this point. Anyone who still gives him attention, it's laughable at this point. The guy's just made an ass out of himself, and that's just my opinion. So we're going to move on. Let me know who you think takes up that matchup, MVP or Ian Garry. Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards. This fight should have been scheduled a long time ago. I think Belal Muhammad should have gotten the last title shot, really. Very deserving fighter. Not a likable guy because he's captain decision, but in his last few fights, I mean, he's proven that he has made just remarkable improvements in his game. He's a good all-around fighter, and I think he makes very smart decisions. I think his IQ is underrated, and people don't appreciate how good Belal Muhammad is. And it's, there's a lot of jokes about him just being very boring, but when you look back at it, I mean, the fights he gave us with Gilbert Burns, the finish he had on Sean Brady, I mean, the guy's obviously trying to somewhat entertain. He's just a very good fighter. And if you ask me, my prediction is probably going to lean towards Belal Muhammad. I think Leon Edwards is very good, but if you kind of take a look at what these guys are doing, who's preparing better for this fight, it almost looks like Belal really wants to be champion, and Leon Edwards has gotten a little comfy as champion. So I'm excited for that fight, but I do think Belal Muhammad will end up taking it. And again, let me know what you think below in the comments. Next up, John Jones. John freaking Jones. Man, I could say so much about this. The guy's the GOAT. He's my GOAT. He is the best mixed martial artist of this era and the last. No question about it. I mean, what the kid has done, and I say kid because when he came into the UFC, he was a kid. What the guy has done in that time has been incredible. What he did last year, stepping in, facing a real heavyweight contender and putting him out in the first round, was incredible. I mean, then he gets injured. But my issue is now he wants Stipe. And again, I'm making a whole video on that, and I really do think he's running from Tom Aspinall. But now we get an interim heavyweight champion defending an interim belt. What in the world is that? I mean, this is the second time the UFC does that. I saw in a post long time ago it happened. I can't even tell you the name, and I apologize for that. That's why I'm the MMA casual. But it's just ridiculous. I mean, John Jones has no interest in competing with the young and up-and-comers because there's too much to lose. I mean, the guy does want to protect his legacy. This is a guy who doesn't have a real loss, and everybody knows that. And then I think Tom Aspinall is a very frightening matchup for him. And then for you to put Tom Aspinall against Curtis Blades, I'm just not excited. I think this is a joke, and I don't think it has anything to do with these two fighters. I think potentially this fight is our championship fight because I definitely see John Jones fighting Stipe, most likely beating him, and walking off into the sunset as the greatest of all time. He takes out at this time, the best heavyweight of all time, which is Stipe. He's been a champion in 2 divisions. He's technically undefeated. There's so much in his legacy to protect. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, and I just think he doesn't want to risk it against Tom Aspinall. And I think a lot of people are saying, who are we to shit on his legacy or set him up like that? But it's like, it's what you do as a fighter. Like if what you are in this promotion, if what you're doing doesn't make sense, get out, retire. Like, why are we waiting for somewhat of a gimmick fight? Why are you fighting a 40-year-old man? Even if he was once considered the best heavyweight of all time, all right, go fight Mark Coleman if you really want some more points. Go find Don Fry. Like, what the fuck are you doing? It doesn't make sense to me. So I just think he needs to vacate the belt, walk off into the sunset now, because that Stipe fight might not even happen. It's just kind of ridiculous. And I know I've went on a little rant there, but it's just all kind of stupid to me. Next up, Dustin Poirier taking Islam Makhachev, the third time he goes for a title. And unfortunately, in my opinion, and he has said this, so it's not just my opinion, but we all see it coming. If he loses this fight, I definitely see Dustin Poirier retiring. He said his daughter's going to sit cage side for the first time ever. So, he's going to have his daughter there. I'm sure his wife will be there. That's going to be a very sentimental moment. He's fighting for the title. If he loses, I mean, this has been such a long road for Dustin Poirier. I mean, this guy has been at it for a long time. The other day, I saw a video of him in like 2013 as like an early mixed martial artist getting into the game. There was like some documentary or something like that, or 2014 maybe. And it was just incredible seeing. I mean, obviously he was a featherweight at that time. And just, if you've been watching his career, so much has happened since then. And I just think he doesn't have much gas in him anymore. You know what I mean? And he even said he might win and retire. And I think that's a possibility too, because with everything he's been through, this long road, why not make it to the championship belt and realize that you've peaked and retire on top? I mean, I think that's a beautiful ending to the Diamond story. So if I have to bet money, I think Dustin the Diamond Poirier does retire at UFC 302. But we're going to have to wait and find out. Those predictions are coming in a couple of days as well, by the way, for 302. So stick around for that. All right. Carlos Oberg comes in for Khalil Roundtree against Jamal Hill. I like it. I think Oberg is taking huge steps up in the ladder. I mean, he just had that last fight. So for him to take on a former champion now and get that opportunity is fantastic. Unfortunately, Roundtree, there was a banned substance he took by accident. He even admitted it. So, he doesn't look bad. It's not like something that he was injecting. Of course, Khalil Roundtree looks like he's taken every anabolic steroid there's ever been. But, you can't hate on the guy. It seems like it was an accident. But for Carlos Oberg, I think this is a really good chance against Jamal Hill because, of course, Jamal Hill just got laid out at UFC 300 against Alex Pereira. So I think this is a pretty quick turnaround for him. And I don't like this fight for Jamal Hill. I think, especially when you've been at the top, when you come in, whatever, off an injury and you take a tough loss like that. We saw it happen to Alexander Volkanovski. I think you should take some time off. It's not even the physical aspect. I think mentally they're just not there. Being defeated that way while you're on top, the world is watching, is just not good for you. And I think it messes with their confidence as well. A lot of guys want to be quick because you're only as good as your last fight, as a lot of fighters like to say it. So they want to kind of scratch off the last one. But I think Jamal Hill needs more time off. So Oberg has a real good chance to make a statement right now in the light heavyweight division. Moving on, Bobby Green, the king of the streets, versus Paddy Pimblett. An okay fight. I think we are setting up Paddy Pimblett. It's so strategic how they're moving this kid up. I mean, you fight Tony Ferguson, so you get that nice name under your belt. Now you're going to Bobby Green, someone who's really like a street fighter. Yeah, he just took out Jim Miller, but he couldn't even finish him. And Jim Miller, to me, in my opinion, is not a real contender in that division. So Bobby Green, I think he's going to have fun out there. I think he's going to test Paddy in a way he hasn't been tested. There is a level of toughness that Paddy's going to have to go through to beat Bobby Green. But I think this is a setup. I really like the idea of Paddy fighting Renato Moicano. I think Patty did want that fight, but I think the UFC knows better. I think they see a lot of potential in pay-per-view buys. They see a lot of potential in a star. I think they're a little realistic with him. I mean, in reality, he really lost that fight to Jared Gordon. They've seen the holes in his game, but he's gradually making improvements, and I think Bobby Green's a nice setup from the UFC for him, but I do see him winning that fight. Last but not least, so I could stop yapping and you could subscribe to this page, I have Chael Sonnen, 47 years old, taking Anderson Silva on, 49 years old, in boxing. I like it, and I'm going to tell you why. If you watch me and you hear my rants, you know I hate gimmicky boxing. The whole Jake Paul thing, even this Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul thing, it drives me absolutely bananas. I didn't like it a few years back when it started. I don't like it now. I don't like the YouTuber fights and all that stuff, but I respect it. It is what it is. They're on the grind. They're making money. I don't like retired fighters fighting. I don't like wrestlers fighting. I know you consider Chael Sonnen one, but what I like about this is that these are two real combat athletes. I mean, these were two UFC, they're both legends. One's a definite Hall of Famer. The other guy was so close to becoming a champion. I mean, these are two guys that it'll be fun to sell. They are a little older, so there is a gimmickiness to it because they're UFC fighters too, but these are fighters, and I'm glad to watch fighters fight. I like watching Jose Aldo boxing. I like the fact that we're going to see Anthony Pettis boxing. I like these guys boxing because they are fighters. You know what I mean? And even though I don't think they're going to do that well in a professional setting against a professional boxer, I think against each other it makes a lot of sense and it's fun for us fans. So let me know what you think about everything I mentioned below. We covered quite a few things. I have quite a few videos to make, a lot of things to yap about. But if you're new here, guys, again, be sure to subscribe. Always a pleasure. The MMA Casuals out.